Yeehaw! Super Mario Bros. Released for the NES is the quintessential video game. While games had been available to the general public for years prior to its release, Super Mario Bros. Is arguably the title that put video games on the map as something more than just a passing fad. Prior to its release in 1985, the gaming industry was on life support due to the market crash of 1983 resulting from an oversaturated home console market. Follow that up with the complete failure of the Atari 5200, the gaming industry as a whole saw a staggering drop of 97% in overall revenue. That's like a lot. Sometimes we modern video gamers like to harp on Mario for featuring gameplay that one might deem as rudimentary, or basic, or made for fucking kids. But there's little doubt that Super Mario Bros. And its release on the NES in 1985 single-handedly saved the video game industry, with the game acting as the selling point for a console that ended up selling over 7 million units in a single year. That's a really big number. So yeah, I guess you could say this game is important. I would also take it upon myself to call this the most game of all time, but that would imply the game to be mediocre. What I mean when I say it's the most game ever is that it's 1, the game that revived the whole industry, and 2, it's the game that set the standard for what video games would become going forward. You understand now? It's the blueprint for video games. It's the video game of all time.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Super Mario Bros. Planted an important seed, and the thing is, that seed grew. It grew and it became something bigger and arguably better over time. So now one must ask an important question. How does it hold up? Is Super Mario Bros. Still worth playing in 2023? Let's find out. The first thing you'll notice out the gate with World 1 Act 1 of Super Mario Bros. Is just how accessible this whole experience is. Literally anybody could pick up the NES controller and have a good time jumping from platform to platform in this charismatic world. The background art displays a prototypical bright, sunny day as its main vibe that almost nobody could say no to. It warmly invites you into its world with a disarming environment, but enough challenge from the Goombas and platforming to keep you interested. This is the type of gaming experience that really can't be divisive even if it tried. Basically all you're doing throughout Super Mario Bros. Is running and jumping and nothing else, and while that is about as basic as it gets with a video game, the simplicity in that is what makes this a universally enjoyable time. You're splitting hairs if you were to think that something about it needs to be changed or tweaked to suit your preferred playstyle. Yes, there are plenty of mechanical issues to nitpick here, but those are a given, because this game is among the first of its kind, so naturally there is gonna be plenty of bullshit. That being said, I'm still choosing to call out a few of those issues right here, right now, because I've got some anger to release. I hate how with Small Mario it feels like you have to, with the pinpointiest of accuracies, land directly on top of enemies to kill them. Otherwise, that's an insta-death for you. It isn't an issue with Big Mario as he can land anywhere on top of a Goomba's head and it'll guarantee a kill, so it's really jarring when you forget that you can't do that with Small Mario and you die. It is also not ideal how Big Mario's size can really screw you over in certain situations when you gotta clear a gap. On one hand, I respect how Nintendo took weight and momentum into account with this project, but in turn it leads to Big Mario feeling like there are drawbacks to using him, and in my opinion that shouldn't be the way to go. I think Big Mario should just be a better version of Little Mario and nothing else. There's of course the infamous issue where things like Fire Sticks and Hammer Bros randomly don't spawn in the same position each time you play through a level. This is quite thoroughly a spectacular way to piss off players because 99 times out of 100, you won't be expecting that Hammer Bro that just killed you before to be standing on a different platform as you try to race through the stage a second time and it throws off your game. I respect the extra challenge this can provide, but it just comes off like a cheap challenge. The worst thing about it is the fact that it happens so randomly that you can't even predict whether or not everything will be in the same spot or in a different one in the next go through. It's so all over the place. Like I said, things like this are just nitpicks at this point, because it's a waste of time to harshly critique a game that was literally just trying to establish platforming as a thing. Super Mario Bros. Overall is a rough, nay, very rough sketch of what a 2D platformer is. The platforming is extremely bare bones by design, and naturally you would assume that it would evolve as you progress through the game. But the thing is, it doesn't. It's the same challenges over and over again, except sometimes with some extra Koopa Troopas or Fire Sticks thrown in your path. There's hardly any new mechanics that pop up to mix up the formula aside from moving platforms or platforms that drop as you stand on them. They did try to throw an extra hurdle your way in the last couple Bowser castles by having you navigate through a maze situation. Along this course, you are faced with multiple paths to take, and you have to pick the exact combo of paths it wants you to take in order to progress. Otherwise, you'll be stuck running an endless loop until the timer runs out. I feel like this was their first real attempt at trying something different with the formula, but overall, it's not ideal, and actually, it gets quite annoying.
Bro, I'm straight up not having a good time.
Bowser makes his iconic debut by being the end obstacle of each world. There's nothing to really say about him because he doesn't really do anything besides jump and throw hammers at you. It's a nice end cap to each world though, and I'm glad that he was put here to act as an exclamation point to each world. Peach and Toad make their debut, of course, in extremely minor roles that will only get slightly less minor in the intervening 40 years. And Luigi? I actually was too lazy to switch to him, so we won't be seeing him in this installment. Yeah, so the thing is, I'm already kind of running out of things to say about Super Mario Bros. I think the best thing about this game overall is its replayability. With the addition of save states, you can blow through it in 1 hour and that'll be that. Or you can pick it back up and see how good you can get. You play it enough and in a short amount of time, you'll be rolling through each level at the speed of sound. Yeah, I just went there. Super Mario Bros. Will always have my respect and reverence due to what it did for the gaming industry. And even though there are much better games out there 40 years later, I will always be down for some classic Super Mario Bros., no matter what. It's a fun game. The running, the jumping, it's all just simple fun. And in a world where games have arguably gotten way overcomplicated, it's a breath of fresh air to come back to a title that just wants you to get your guy from point A to point B and nothing else. It's simplicity at its finest, and at my table, there's always a space for simple gaming. I give Super Mario Bros. For the NES a rating of 6.5 out of 10, and my final verdict? Yes, it is still worth playing.